I'm upset. No disrespect, respectfully. But disrespectfully is disrespect. Don't be disrespectful. Those vile, disgusting Spartans. Poor little girl, them. And I'm gonna tell them where I'm at. That vile, disgusting cesspool in Columbus. The other state. And of course, as always, I'm upset.
Maize and Blue Nation, it's Tom Brady. I co-founded Autograph with one mission in mind: change the fan experience for the better. That's why I'm excited to announce the release of a new app that recognizes the biggest Michigan fans. The Autograph Fandom app gives you access to the best Michigan content, fan challenges, and exclusive rewards for diehard Wolverines, all for doing the things you already do, like listening to this podcast. Head over to the Apple App Store and search for Autograph Rewarding Fans and download today.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is a different time to be a Michigan fan. There we go. You hear me now? I'm sorry, guys. I'm a little flustered. Anyway, what I was saying is, it's been quite some time since we've experienced this as Michigan fans. 2015 is the last time that there was a coaching change. Of course, exit Brady Hoke and enter Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh, a Michigan man, played for Michigan. His dad been around the program and Woody Hayes for a long time. And then obviously coming back to coach his alma mater, and not only coming back to coach them, eventually he led them to the mountaintop, which is the national championship. And currently Michigan is the champions. Until somebody beats Michigan, Michigan is the champions. Until they don't defend that title, Michigan is the champions. That said, three Big Ten championships in a row. Nobody in the Big Ten can say they've won 3 Big Ten championships since the Big Ten championship has become a thing. Nobody can say they won 3 in a row. Michigan can. Only Michigan can. Nobody in the Big Ten has had a 15-0 season culminated with a national championship. Only Michigan can say that. All right. The last 3 years trampling that vile, disgusting cesspool in Columbus. And of course, Michigan, the Ohio State paper tigers is what I like to call them right now. They are winning the offseason. They are the offseason champs, according to their fan base. But that's neither here nor there. We are here to talk about the man, the myth, Jim Harbaugh, and the vacuum that he leaves behind. It was all fun and games when Nick Saban retired. Shout out to my guy, Nick Saban Jr., who's in the chat. Be sure to check his channel out. When Nick retired and I was making fun of that, not in any malicious way. Nick Saban's the GOAT, but I did say that Jim Harbaugh retired Nick Saban, and that was all good because I still was holding out hope, even if that hope was slim, that Jim Harbaugh would return to Michigan. Of course, he did not. He chose to take his talents to Los Angeles and coach the Chargers. Here's where it gets interesting, though, because some things came out right before, actually, Jim, the news broke. It came out that Michigan was going to agree to all Jim's terms. Not only were they going to agree to Jim's terms, they were going to sweeten the deal by putting a clause in the contract that allowed Jim to be the highest paid coach in college football. Let me repeat that. The highest paid coach in college football, not just the Big Ten, in perpetuity, basically. So that is, say next year somebody signs a bigger deal, Jim's deal goes up however much to beat that deal. So that would have been an incredible deal, by the way. Let me point something out. What if somebody else signed a deal like that? Do they just keep going? Eventually, they're making $55 million a year. Anyway, that's a rabbit hole discussion for another day. But now we are in a space, right? We currently don't have a coach, even though the thinking is that Chiron Moore will be the next head football coach of the Michigan Wolverines. Currently, we do not have a coach. All right. I'm going to get to the chat in just a second. But first, we need to discuss this. All right. Michigan does not currently have a coach. Currently, the defensive coordinator is still on the team as of when I went live, I suppose. So Jesse Minter is still there. There are questions whether Jesse Minter follows Jim Harbaugh to the NFL. We'll discuss that in a second. Jay Harbaugh, the safeties coach, who is an ace recruiter for Michigan, he may follow his father to the NFL. In fact, I think that's as done a deal as it is. What about strength and conditioning coach Ben Herbert? Ben Herbert, quiet as it's kept, has been a huge part of Michigan's recent success. I cannot stress that enough. Ben Herbert is as important to Michigan football right now as anybody, and he could potentially follow Jim Harbaugh to the NFL. Now, I do think that Michigan has a better chance of keeping him than the other two I mentioned, in Jesse Minter and Jay Harbaugh, for a myriad of reasons. But either way, this is what we are faced with right now. Let me go to the comments really quick because I know there's a bunch of them. They're piling up. I'm going to try to start from the beginning. Another Michigan podcaster says, UM included clauses Harbaugh wanted along with the guarantee. I just spoke about that. Absolutely. I think Harbaugh was gone, Natty, or not winning. That may be true too. In fact, there's a thinking that he wanted to go to the NFL, that winning a Super Bowl was really calling him. So winning the national championship allows him to, as this person says, leave in a more palatable way. Hire Jesse Minter, make him the highest paid coach in the Big Ten. I would love to hire Jesse Minter. Don't get me wrong. I think Jesse Minter is an excellent coach. Let me say that. I think Chiron Moore is also an excellent coach. But I think that the blow would be less. And when I say the blow, I mean the blow on recruiting, the blow on the current class, the blow on the current players would be less if Chiron Moore is the coach. He seems to have a better relationship with those guys, at least outwardly. So I think Chiron Moore is the right choice to hire as the head coach. And let's be real, Jim Harbaugh, when given a choice, chose Chiron Moore to coach 4 games, not Jesse Minter. So that may be all the proof we need. Recruits, according to EJ Holland, are unanimously in favor of Chiron Moore, although no mention was made of Gatlin Bear, whose decision seems to lean more on what Harbaugh chose to do. That may be true too. And everything I've seen from recruits and from current players has been positive thus far. This is not for me. My guy, what's good? What's good, Nick Saban Jr.? Just shout out to that guy. No sound. Got that fixed. Chris Hewitt, I think Michigan needs to go after him. I checked this coaching profile out. This dude should be the choice of Moore. Nothing else. He needs to go after him hard, even if Minter stays. Go after him for what? What position? Like, what part of the coaching staff should they hire him for? Lost audio. Yep, got it. Let's go blue. Sorry, I'm trying to get through them all. Ward Manuel fumbled the ball on purpose. Okay, let me talk about this really quick. After Jim Harbaugh decided he was going to sign with the Los Angeles Chargers, his lawyer released a statement saying that Michigan basically tried to get the deal done in the 11th hour, right? Um, and what that is too little, too late, right? Or even if it was enough, it was just too late. And I think that was strategic. That was strategic on Jim Harbaugh's part and his lawyer's part to release that information when they released it. It's like a jab at Ward Manuel on the way out, and it may be true, but definitely it was strategic to release that statement when they released that statement because there was no need for them to release that statement really, other than I guess to appease some Michigan fans. Ward needs to go. He's listen. Ward is he's on the block. He's got to be on the block, the chopping block that is. Ohio State is trying to Yankee their way into a championship, but remember when the Yankees tried to buy one, it usually didn't work out. They also neglect their farm system. Sounds familiar. Absolutely. Look, let's be real. Antoine, we speak about this. We spoke about this before. Uh, Ohio State isn't doing a great job of development. What Ohio State has done an excellent job of, especially under Ryan Day, is recruiting. They recruit skill positions at that. It's not even like they are dominating recruiting in the trenches. They have skill position players, and they do a good job of recruiting those guys, wide receivers, quarterbacks, running backs, whatever, right? The problem is they're soft, and they're soft because they don't recruit the trenches and they don't develop. It's they get a bunch of talented high school players and whatever, and they throw them out there and say, "Here's the football." That's not good enough. And Michigan has proven that, smacking them in the face for 3 straight years. But let's keep that hush. If they want to keep doing it the way they are doing it, more power to them. But I will say this: it's going to be very sweet when we travel to Columbus this upcoming season and smack them in the face again with this Ferrari, this Lamborghini of a roster they've built, that they think they've built, by the way. Um, because it wasn't built, it was bought, as Antoine pointed out. But they're playing the game the way that it can be played right now. So I can't fault them for doing what the NCAA allows them to do. That joke of governing body, but uh, they're still going to get smacked in the face in November 2024. So wait for it. Must keep Ben Herbert, strength and conditioning coach. I agree with this, Dom. Ben Herbert is a must get, must keep. We all had hope, but still wish him the best for sure. Wish Jim Harbaugh nothing but the best. What up, Triple M? What's your record prediction for Michigan next year? I got 10-2 with losses to Oregon and Ohio State, whom I believe have two of the top three rosters in the sport. I do agree that both of those rosters are impressive. I'm going to hold off on a record prediction. I will say this: I think Michigan is going to beat the other state. Ward needs to reallocate that money that was going to Jim and put it in the staff for sure. Nick Saban had that same type of deal. If someone got more money, his money goes up. Yeah. More all day. Strength and conditioning coaches are not a big deal in the NFL. Most of them have their own. I agree with this statement too. He is definitely more valuable to Michigan than he would be to the Chargers. Speaking of Ben Herbert, I would hire Zachary Orr, Ravens linebacker coach as DC. If Minter leaves, keep the Baltimore Ravens scheme. So I brought this up too on the X app, formerly known as Twitter, that Michigan should be on the phone with John Harbaugh, getting the next superstar, young, defensive-minded talent, right, to fill that role. But I also had to step back and think Steve Klinkscale has been in Michigan's has been on the staff now for a few years. He was the co-defensive coordinator this year. I think he's held that role the last 2 years, actually. He is the defensive backs coach. He's done a good job of recruiting defensive backs, of developing defensive backs. So I think he could step into that defensive coordinator role. Let me know in the comments what y'all think about that. And it may be easier for Michigan to do that, but we'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think. Just read this one. Seems like the recruits think we're good hands with Chiron Moore. I agree. They are in favor of Chiron Moore. two Super Bowl participants that people forget. The one that lost the game. That's the second team that only won one. Uh, that's cool. You can't give Jesse more money than Coach Moore, but you can definitely make him the highest paid defensive coordinator in college. In the NFL don't make that much money as coordinators. Um, yeah, I think so. That brings me to the point of Jesse Minter. I think Jesse Minter, Michigan could make him the highest paid defensive coordinator in college football. I think Jesse Minter is a guy that wants to eventually be a DC and head coach in the NFL, though. He's a young guy. He came from the NFL before going to Vanderbilt and then ultimately to Michigan. Um, and I think he wants to take that next progression the same way Mike McDonald, who was a guy from the NFL, came to Michigan back to the NFL in a higher role, and he's just looking to increase that profile. I think Jesse Minter is cut from that same cloth, and those are NFL guys, right? He brought NFL scheme to college, which was excellent, but I do think that he wants to, uh, climb the ladder in the professional ranks. But I could be wrong. I hope I am wrong. If we can bring back Jesse Minter, they got to do everything they can to make that happen. Manuel did not speak to Harbaugh for 6 months. I read that. That is disgusting. Chris Ewers, the Ravens secondary coach, has been a great record with a lot of experience. I would like him to be the defensive coordinator and maintain our scheme. Yeah, I mean, man, that's a tough one. Like, I think again, I just spoke about calling the Ravens, and if that guy is the guy, then let's do it, right? But at the same time, can we keep holding on to Clink in like the same role, right? He just keeps bumping his head on the ceiling. We're gonna lose him too. So I do think you got to progress, guys, and maybe bring this guy on, bring him into the co-defensive coordinator role with that defensive back, and the defensive back coach. And then, once it's time for Clink to climb the ladder, this guy climbs the ladder. So I think that's a thing that could happen. But it could also go, the way you're talking about, Twan. He could be the defensive coordinator. I just think Clinkscale has earned rather, the right to be the defensive coordinator. Whether or not it happens, I don't know. I would do that if he leaves. I would like Orr from the Ravens or Lynn, the USC DC. Brought the Ravens scheme to, bro. I don't want anybody from USC. If he was not the DC last year, please tell me, because if so, he needs to stay far away from Michigan. As mad as I am that Harbaugh is leaving because of what it does to Michigan, I'm just as pissed that he's leaving without finishing his stance on the schools paying the athletes. They need to do better. I agree with this, staff, for sure. As much as I want Coach Harbaugh to stay, I want Coach Moore. The staff will be better, and it will be great having a staff that recruits. No will be there each year. No NFL flirting. I agree with this, Dot. This is really the key here. And I think that Michigan could have had better recruiting classes if Jim wasn't every year flirting with the NFL. Bottom line. I think that Chiron Moore would be a Michigan guy. He would be the coach. If they make Chiron Moore the coach, I don't see his aspirations going to the NFL, at least right now, right? That could be something, that could be a conversation down the road. But right now, I like him as the head coach because of the stability, because of the continuity, and because you can build the staff around him. And a lot of the staff is going to be there anyway. Another guy that we need to talk about, Mike Elson, the defensive line coach, might be moving on too. That could be a big hit too, because he's done a great job with that defensive line and recruiting the defensive line as well, but we'll speak about that in a second. But what I do like, by the way, hit the like button if you haven't, and share this on your social medias. What I do like about keeping Chiron Moore is exactly what I said. I don't think his aspirations are professional right now. That could be a 10-year conversation down the road, maybe a 5-7-year conversation. But right now, Michigan needs to hit the recruiting trail, and they probably could have had more success recruiting had there been no questions about who the head coach was going to be. And I think that Chiron Moore kind of stabilizes that and allows for Michigan recruiting to get back to the level it was when Jim first got there. You remember Jim got there, those first 3-4 years, he had 2 top 5 recruiting classes. He had a top 10 recruiting class. So uh, he was a rock star recruiter early on. He was on Twitter early on. He was spending the night at kids' house. He was doing cannonballs in swimming pools. He was climbing trees of recruits. He was doing all kinds of crazy things, but he was recruiting is the key. Go blue always, always. Um, but yeah, so I think Jerome Moore is the right answer right now. Desperate Day is doing the Texas A&M Jimbo official Hail Mary. I agree, and it's weird because they also hired Texas A&M's athletic director, so they really are bringing Texas A&M to Columbus. But whatever, they're gonna fall on their face. Elston and or Klink should be the DC. They could be co-DCs. That's a great point, Dot. I would be okay with that too. Absolutely. I like Zachary Orr coaches linebackers for the Ravens. We need linebackers. We do need a linebackers coach. Uh, and that's something that hasn't been talked about enough. We do need a linebackers coach. I do like what we have at linebacker, though. The transfer from Maryland Barham, we are teaming him with Hausman. We got some good linebackers, some young linebackers on the roster already, and what they're bringing in the 2024 class. Linebacker is a spot that I think Michigan is going to be really strong at the next few years. He was DC for UCLA. Got it. Okay. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Taylor Lewan, new offensive line coach. That would be amazing. That would be fire. Actually, I would like that. However, I do think Grant Newsome is going to be that guy. He's the current tight ends coach, I believe. I think he's going to move on to be the offensive line coach. I think Kirk Campbell is the perfect candidate for offensive coordinator. Let me know what you guys think about that. Is Kirk Campbell the best decision there? I don't mind Klink running the defense, assuming he knows the Ravens defense. If he don't, I don't want him. And if he decides to leave, we just have to find someone else. I agree. I don't want Klink to be the defensive coordinator if he's not running with McDonald and Minter have already, set the ground or set the baseline for it, and that's that Ravens defense. Obviously, it's been a gem for Michigan. And speaking of gems, Jesse Minter called gems down the stretch of the season and into the playoffs. And I would love to keep Jesse Minter. I just don't think that that's a real possibility for Michigan this upcoming season. This pay-to-play scheme cooked up by Desperate Day will fail. There are no get-rich-quick avenues to win a natty. First of all, I'm about to start using Desperate Day. That's fire. I like it. I'm going to be using it. Thank you. But yeah, he's obviously, he is exactly that. He's a desperate man at the end of his rope who sees the writing on the wall. If he loses, by the way, to Michigan this year, again, 4 straight years of losing to the Wolverines, he's out of there. There's no question about it. That team is going to implode. All of those guys are hitting the portal or going to the league. It's a wrap. And that's why Michigan has to win this year, this upcoming season. At Justin Grant Newsome will be the O-line coach. Yeah, I think so too. I joined late, but Michigan's in negotiations with coordinators offering more than they could make in the NFL. I've heard numbers as high as much as $6 million. True or not? That would be amazing. Are those is Jesse Minter one of those coordinators they're talking to? Because if so, Jesse should take the money. Look, as much as I would like to go to the NFL too, $6 million to be a defensive coordinator in college football, sign me up. The league will be there. He's still a young guy. It'll be there. Trust me. Hell no, he's not Freeman. Who said something about Freeman? Do you think Moore will be like Freeman? That's my worries. Your thoughts? Oh, hell no. Nah. So I think we already saw Chiron Moore be the head coach, really, right? He coached 4 games. He beat the back end of that regular season schedule. That was Penn State sandwiched in the trap game with Maryland, and then obviously the other state. He won those games. Now, granted, I did think when Jim served that 3-game suspension earlier in the season, when they had the combination, I think the first head coach was Jesse Minter. I think that followed up with Jay Harbaugh coaching the first half of the next game, and then Mike Hart coaching the second half, and then with Chiron Moore coaching that third game. That third game was Michigan's worst game all season. That Bowling Green game was Michigan's worst game all season, really, unless you want to count Penn State. Maybe offensively that was, whatever, but I thought defensively Michigan was excellent against Penn State. Against Bowling Green, they had no choice but to be excellent because Bowling Green was just outmatched, but offensively Michigan was a dumpster fire in that Bowling Green game, and JJ threw 3 interceptions. It was just a bad game, and I was questioning Chiron Moore at that time, but I think he made up for it with that final 3. That last 3-game stretch was excellent on his part. We got a super chat from my guy Dom. M3 Mello is awfully vocal about being AOL since 11. Typical other state fan. No, I didn't even see Mello. My bad. I missed a Mello comment here. Interesting. I don't know. I can't find it right now, but shout out to Mello. I'm sure he feels good right now. Those paper tigers are meowing. They think they're gonna do something. I doubt it. Here we go. Mentor 25 for 5 years. I will offer him. Yes. That's $5 million a year to be the defensive coordinator. He should take it, and he should enjoy it. Love it. Do that. By the way, if you're Michigan, do that. Give Klink the job. Why would change the defensive scheme? It's proven to be the most advanced on Saturdays and Sundays. I agree. Look, this is a great point by Blank. The Ravens are still in the tournament. They just dominated that second half against Houston, and that defense was a big part of that. So this is clearly the scheme that nobody has figured out yet. And until they do, Michigan should run it. Word of advice to you Michigan fans, keep the same KFC recipe. Don't change the Colonel's herbs and spices. Shout out to Twan, man. 4 turnovers versus Bowling Green, awful game, still won bigly. Yeah, absolutely. Go Blue. Shout out to Gip. Go Blue. Mello still needs to own up the bet he lost to me. Oh, shoot. Mello lost a bet to Justin? Where you at, Mello? I'm going to give Mello a pass because Ryan never came through with his bet to Mello. Early on, he says Michigan players transferring to Bama. Oh, I see. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Mentor Klink, are they the only options if Leonard wants to come in and be a position coach? Fine. I agree. I think that should be the way it goes. If Jesse Minter moves on, Klink should succeed that, right? And if the coach from Baltimore wants to come in, be a position coach and the co-defensive coordinator, I'm all good with that. But I do think Klink has earned the right to be the defensive coordinator. Did someone say KFC? Mello been smelling his own feet too long. It's making him delirious. Shout out to that, man. Yeah, but I want to get to a couple other points. Some people have been saying crazy things. This is one of them. Brian Kelly would like to be the head football coach at the University of Michigan. To that, I say, hell no. No. We don't want Brian Kelly. We don't need his soft ass coming up here losing big games week in and week out. No, the answer is no. We don't want Brian Kelly. And I don't even care if he brings the quarterback with him. I don't care if he brings Bryce Underwood with him. We don't want Brian Kelly. Bottom line. Is anybody feeling differently about that? Maze man, I'm in Central Ohio also, and been loving the Suck Guys crying. Bro, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. I grew up in Ohio. in the 90s at a time when Michigan was dominating the other state, sort of like they are now. And it was a beautiful thing. Beautiful time to be alive. Shout out to you. Hell no, right. No Brian Kelly. Kelly just wants a raise. Probably. Kelly comes. I'm officially done. I'm with you. That's a ridiculous rumor. Brian Kelly is like James Franklin. He will win you 10 games and lose all the big ones. Facts. Like all the other coaches did with Bama. Rumors. Agreed. Cheaters. He's speaking about Ohio State. That's great. OSU fans crying down in SC. Shout out to that. Yeah, bottom line is Brian Kelly has no. The answer is no. He's not welcome in Ann Arbor. Bottom line. This is another rumor that I heard. PJ Fleck to Michigan. I like PJ Fleck. All right. I thought, well, let me rephrase that. I liked past tense PJ Fleck when he came to Minnesota. I thought he would be a problem for teams over there in the Big Ten West. It hasn't come to fruition the way that I thought it would, the way I'm sure he thought it would. I thought he was an ace recruiter coming out of a small school. I think he was at, what was he at? Central Michigan, Western Michigan, one of them. Either way, it just hasn't panned out for PJ Fleck. And the answer again, hell no. We don't want PJ Fleck to be the head coach either. Bottom line. Kelly's a terrible hire. Facts. Try harder, bum. Brian Kelly throws his own players under the bus to save his own ass. He's a terrible culture guy. I agree. Ain't rowing the boat. No. He would be all right. No, I don't want PJ Fleck. He loved us this year. He did. No Fleck. I agree. No Fleck zone. No Fleck zone. Mark Stoops. Oh, no. I want to beat Mark Stoops for stealing all the Michigan recruits that he has stolen. He is no longer welcome in Ann Arbor, not even to visit. Moore or Belichick, that's the two options. Belichick? Wait, are we talking crazy? Belichick? Listen, some doors have closed for him in the NFL. He might be looking to college football, but I think he's too old. He's 71 years old. He's a rigid man who probably would not appreciate what's happening in college football, and I wouldn't blame him if I'm being honest, but no. It's the answer is Chiron Moore. I like Belichick, but no. He's 71 years old. No, we can't hire a senior citizen. I'm sorry. All right, let me ask you guys this. Did Chiron Moore prove enough in those 4 games? I spoke a little bit about those 4 games. Obviously, the first one being rough against Bowling Green. The other 3, I thought he did great. I think he did enough. What do you guys think? Did he do enough in those 4 games to warrant him being the next Michigan head coach? I think he would obviously be. And by the way, Michigan has a history of succession on the coaching staff, right? It was Bo, and he was succeeded by an assistant who then was succeeded by an assistant, right? So this isn't like a new thing for Michigan if it indeed is Chiron Moore. So they have a history of this. Moore is our guy. Yes, I agree. Absolutely on Moore. Yep. Yes. Vrabel, the OSEC player. Nah, wait, who is trying to get Vrabel in here? He was under tremendous pressure. He won the toughest games. Facts. There's no getting around that. In the early part of the season when Jim Harbaugh served the 3-game suspension, everybody in this chat could coach those games and Michigan would have won. All right. We could have collectively, by the way, all of us could have collectively called the plays one by one. We could have just lined up. One of us call a play, the next person call a play, so on and so forth. Michigan would have won those 3 games. I'm sorry. But those final 3 games that Chiron Moore coached, those were real games. Penn State was a real football team. Don't get me wrong. James Franklin, like Antoine pointed out, will lose all the important games. But that team was good, and Michigan won. The Maryland game was the quintessential trap game. It was the Ayatollah of trap games. It was absolutely what it was, sandwiched in between two top 10 teams. And they tried to win it. They went for it. And he was able to get it done down the stretch. And then, of course, Ohio State, Michigan never was behind in that game. They really led from the start. And so I think he did enough. Absolutely. No, he didn't. Why do you guys want to set him up for failure? He's the least qualified option. He beat PSU, OSU with a championship roster. This is Juwan Howard all over again. Damn it. That's rough. I think it's a little different than Juwan Howard. Juwan Howard didn't coach under Beeline and, win some big games. I think that's different. As I pointed out, Michigan football has a history of succession. By the way, one of those succeeding coaches was Lloyd Carr, who won a championship. So I disagree with that statement, Johnny K. I understand what you're saying, but I disagree. Chat calling plays. We're not punting. I tell you that. Facts. 4th and 18. Go for it. Just like on Madden. We're going for it. Moore is our guy. What other coach would have made half the back pass, made the half back pass, calling the Rose Bowl? That's a fact. It almost went south, but whatever. Johnny, the difference is Moore has been here a part of the rebirth, and I would say had more connection with players. Absolutely. I think that's also the difference, right? Juwan Howard was kind of brought in as like this Fab Five kind of bright, shiny object from Michigan's past, at which I thought was a great idea at the time. Obviously, it has not worked out. But Chiron Moore has been in the trenches, literally. He's like the offensive line coach. He's he's coached two Joe Moore award-winning offensive lines. I think you're wrong about this one. I think you're all the way wrong about this one, Johnny, unfortunately, but I get it. This is not a Howard hire. Moore has experience. Yes. The thing that made the PSU game impressive was that it was a Happy Valley whiteout game. Well, it wasn't a whiteout. In fact, Michigan got lucky that it wasn't a whiteout because of the greed of Fox. Shout out to Fox, who wanted that game and didn't allow NBC to get that game at night. That's what it really came down to. Fox had the big noon kickoff game, which is what we got in Happy Valley, or it could have been NBC in a primetime game, which would have been a whiteout. Make no mistake about it. That would have been a whiteout. That atmosphere would have been a lot different. So shout out to the greed over at Fox. You did us a solid. Told you 6 weeks ago, Kaki was going to LA. Next will be the players leaving, then the NC drop in the, oh my God. You guys want this so bad. I've never seen a fan base that wants something like this so bad. I can't wait until nothing happens of this so that when we smash you again in November, you have nothing to fall back on except for your coach, whose seat is going to be in fuego. Let me tell you, if that man goes out there with the $13 million roster, by the way, $13 million is probably oh my God. Oh my God. That's probably the GOP of Ohio, by the way. He go out there with the $13 million roster and take this L to Michigan for the 4th year in a row. Oh my goodness. It's not going to be safe for him there. He's got to move. He got to go back to New Hampshire. He got to call his brother, come sneak him the hell out of Ohio, because that seat, when I say in fuego, the blue flames coming off the seat there, that thing, Smokey the Bear, not Smokey, not nobody can save him from the inferno that seat will be if he loses this game to Michigan, which he will, by the way, because he's soft and he's out here looking for Lou Holt still. He will lose that game. They will fire him. He will not be welcome in the state of Ohio, and he will have to find a way to get back the gross the GDP for the state of Ohio. But I digress. Keep believing it. Bet. Yeah, bet. BET around here. Did Michigan win in Natty Hurts? Definitely. That thing's sore. Sore. Crazy talk. Of course you'll be worried about losing the roster. Oh my God. GOP of Ohio. My bad. I meant GDP. Um, but you got it, right? You got it. It's no way. No way. CJ Stroud bought the whole team for his coach. Probably did. I saw that he was clearly like a large donor, um, which again, I don't understand. CJ Stroud should be doing that for Michigan too, because during his tenure as the Buckeyes quarterback, he was also our quarterback. Uh, he doubled as the Wolverines quarterback on defense and their quarterback too. So shout out to CJ Stroud. You can't take these guys serious, but that's not the only reason why we want more. He's responsible for half of the recruiting rebuild of. Yes, man, that's a good point. And in fact, he was part of the, just to run down some of the big names he recruited. JJ McCarthy, even though he wasn't the lead recruiter with McCarthy, he was the second recruiter. Dax Hill, he was the second recruiter. Um, Donovan Edwards, like he's got Will Johnson. He was the second recruiter on Will Johnson. So he's got a resume. Make no mistake about it. And don't get me started on the offensive line, because he has recruited and coached that position group better than everybody in America for at least the last 3 years. Absolutely. Coach Coach Holtz off the top rope. Fact. Paper team is Ohio. Yes. Yes, the Paper Tigers meowing loudly. Exactly. Some of the Michigan fans are Lito. NIL, rent a player. Never builds a real culture. Can't without. I agree, man. Some of these guys just don't understand. But it's all right. Michigan will be there to remind them. And Chiron Moore is our guy. We all agree on that for the most part. Let me ask you guys this before we get out of here. What happens with Jesse Minter? I have already explained what I think happens. I think I explained like his mindset. He's a young guy who has professional aspirations. Although if Michigan throws $5 million a year at him, he has to take it. $5 million a year to be the defensive coordinator in college. Sign me up. Like I said, sign me. Where do I sign? Where do I? You want it in blood? Do I have to cut myself and sign with my, however you want it? $5 million a year to be the DC in college. Yes. Yes. The answer is yes. Chiron Moore's 37-year-old. Perfect. Absolutely. He going with Jim. I do believe that Jesse Minter is going to go with Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers. I believe that. Thanks, Ryan Day, for taking a center and can't hike the ball. Can you believe that? They thought that was a good idea. What they think they gonna turn it around? They don't develop, especially along the offensive line. Anyway, good job. Good job on their part. Michigan gives him $3 or $4 million. Do you realize most defensive coordinators might make only half of that? Fact. That's a fact. And if they offer him 5, he has to take it. There's no questions about it. Anyway, guys, just wanted to come. It's been a pause. Just wanted to hop on the live. It's been a minute since we did a live. We'll try to do more of these. It's great to kind of chat it up with everybody. Follow me everywhere at Maze Madman. I got some good things cooking up. Got a new partnership. I will be announcing that here shortly. Contracts are being signed, but appreciate each and every one of you. Shout out my guy Dom, who hit me with the email. He won, of course, the challenge and received one of these. We'll do another giveaway here soon. I have not yet decided what it will be for, but we will do a giveaway. Shout out to everybody here. All caps, pause. Yeah, all caps, pause, all caps. But yeah, until next time, stay angry, my friends. I'm upset.